Okay, so now we are going to practice finding the asymptotes and stating the domain and range. So if you remember from last week, we have this little cheat sheet that kind of tells us what our steps are. So to find the vertical asymptote, we find the real zeros of the denominator. So the vertical asymptote, x plus 4 equals 0. So x equals negative 4. Okay, and then the horizontal asymptote, we use the little chart down here comparing the degrees. So the degree here is 1 and the degree here is 1. So then we look at our chart. So they're equal to each other. So the line where we divide the leading coefficients of the two equations, or the two expressions, is going to be our horizontal asymptote. So here our leading coefficient is 1, and here our leading coefficient is 1. So y equals 1 divided by 1, or y equals 1, is our horizontal asymptote. Okay? So that means that our domain is all real numbers except x equals negative 4. So negative 4. And our range is all real numbers except 1. Okay, so the asymptotes and the domain and range are tied closely to each other. Let's do this one down here. Okay, so the vertical asymptote, x squared minus 3 equals 0. So x squared equals 3. So x equals plus or minus the square root of 3. So this is actually, let's make sure we're clear. This is the positive square root of 3, and then we're going to have another asymptote at the negative square root of 3. So those are our two asymptotes. And then for our horizontal asymptote, our m is 1 and our n is 2. So we look at our chart. And when m is less than n, the line y equals 0 is the horizontal asymptote. So it's just y equals 0. So then for our domain, and last time I wrote it out in words, this time I'm just going to be lazy and I'm going to say, if it's all real numbers except negative 4, then we could just say x does not equal, or sorry, before. Okay, if it's all real numbers except positive root 3 and negative root 3, we could just say x does not equal positive or negative root 3. And for our range, we could say that y cannot equal 0. Alright, and then last example, let's go down to this one. So we have our vertical asymptote at x squared plus 5 equals 0. So x squared equals negative 5. That's imaginary. right? Because it's going to be taking the even root of a negative. So there's no vertical asymptote. And then my horizontal asymptote is 3 and 2. 3 is bigger than 2. So there's no horizontal asymptote. No horizontal asymptote. But the end behavior is the same as the graph of, we have our end behavior is the same as y equals the ratio of the leading coefficients. Let me put this back up here so you can see it. So we have the ratio of the leading coefficients, so 1 over 1 times x, and then we have the difference of the degrees to the first, or y equals x to the first power, or just y equals x actually is what we could write. So that gives us a sense of the overall shape of the graph.